Hi everybody, welcome. My name is Kathy Merk I'm so glad you decided to tune in and join me today. I hope we'll get some people on here live, and if not, that's okay. We can always do the replay. So I'm so happy to see you all, and of course, it's always my pleasure to come on and talk about some of the things that were meaningful to me in my healing journey, and then also help you guys sort of navigate yours because, we're all in this together. So today I wanted to talk about how we rewire our brain. So that's kind of a necessary thing as we're healing spasmodic dysphonia and everything else too. But specifically, nervous system related issues are directly correlated to the brain, the connection with the brain to other parts of the body. It is one of those things where everything is all connected. So we have to kind of address all of it anyway as we go through the thing. But I know from my own experience, especially because my nervous system was a wreck, that it was super important for me to start regulating my thoughts. My dog is wanting to come up. There's Bogey, everybody. So anyway, so a lot of this that I'm going to say to you is related to nervous system regulation, and also a big bundle of stuff we need to plow through to also start rewiring our thoughts. But because they're all connected, and because one thing influences the other thing, we need to kind of address all of it at once. So when we're in a fight or flight situation, we don't have the capacity to monitor our thoughts, and our emotions are in a more of a negative spiral when we're in that fight or flight, because we're just trying to survive. That's what that thing is designed for, is just to help us survive. It's not designed to help us actually live a good quality of life for long periods of time. So when we get stuck in that fight or flight kind of mode, a lot of things suffer because our body is not doing a lot of the functions that it needs to be doing. And one of the things that we cannot do is access our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain that is going to be our creative thinking, and the thinking that is also helping us make quality decisions and being in touch with the through line of our lives. What do we actually want versus making reactionary decisions? So one of the things we have to just start doing is keeping our nervous system as calm as possible at all times. So that's easier said than done, right? Because we're in this crazy world. We have all these busy lives. We have responsibilities. We have things that come up that are not favorable sometimes. We have past trauma that we've all been through. That is, all of this stuff is influencing us and on a daily basis. And so we need to start, just noticing, what kind of state am I in? When I was at my sickest, I would wake up kind of in an anxious feeling right off the bat. Nothing had happened. Not one thing had happened in my life that was going wrong at that moment, but I would wake up with terrible anxiety because, a couple things. My adrenals were shot and misfiring. And then I was also kind of caught in that negative fear loop in my brain. That was my go-to default, because after you kind of, make a groove in your thought pattern, after a while that becomes the path of least resistance. I've said this before, but it's like a field of grass that's not been walked through, but then you walk through it once, you start tamping down the grass, and then you do it a couple more times, and then suddenly that is your path, because you don't have to go through the high grass anymore. And so it's important to just become aware of what are our loops. I'm guessing if you have spasmodic dysphonia, there are some negative loops that are going into your brain on a regular basis. Even if that wasn't the case before you got spasmodic dysphonia as much, after having spasmodic dysphonia, already that is a PTSD like kind of inducing condition that's going to cause a lot more fear and a lot more of that anxiety, low-level anxiety at all times. So that's just important to know as we're going to talk about a bunch of other stuff, but that is like the basis of that we need to just kind of aspire to, is being calm and being more in control of our nervous system, of our thoughts, and of our breathing, all of it. So another thing that is important to know about just sort of laying the groundwork as we're getting through this stuff is our brain is designed to have a filter. So there's a thing called the reticular activating system that is in our brain that filters information that's coming in, the stimulus that's coming into us at all times. Because I know if we actually had no filter, at any given moment, we are taking in so much information. Like just even me sitting in this room, there's pictures on the wall, there's light coming in the window, there's a ceiling fan, there's a closet full of stuff over there, there's bookshelves, there's my dog. There's all sorts of things coming at me. So my brain right now knows I'm supposed to be talking to you about rewiring your brain. So I'm focused on that right now, and it's doing me a favor and it's tuning out all the other stuff. So each day we have that going on constantly. And so we tell it basically what to look for by the chemicals that are emitted from our emotional state, and then also our thoughts. So if we're in a low vibe, say anxious state, we are going to be looking for the things that are going to match that state. So we're going to look for reasons to be more anxious. We're going to interpret everything that comes in our worldview as a sign that we need to be more anxious, that there is danger. And so that's another thing that we have to become aware of, because we're telling our brain what to look for. So we have to kind of elevate that as we go through our process here I'm going to talk about, and eventually also elevate what we're looking for in a more optimistic way. So I hope you guys are with me so far. So this is kind of a big subject, and so I'm going to do my best not to make it too lengthy, because I could probably drone on about this for quite a long time, because it is kind of complex and there's so many moving parts. So we have to begin like digging kind of deep into the basics of who we are. We have to look at ourselves and our identities, who we perceive ourselves to be. We have to examine our beliefs that are a result of not only those identities, but also conditioning that we've received from our parents, from our schools, from our friends, from our whatever influences that we all experience, because we honestly are influenced from birth with people who have instilled certain ideals or beliefs within us. So in order to elevate our thoughts and our emotions, we have to kind of dig down deep, because these are the foundations of why we have the thoughts and emotions to begin with. So it's our worldview of ourselves, of our, world. I'll just use this as an example. So for me, when my health went off the cliff, so we had a traumatic event in our family, and as a result of that event, I kind of got this worldview that the world was not a safe place to be. I sort of was not trusting of other people. I became very jaded and very kind of closed off, because it sort of shook my beliefs, and I developed this new set of beliefs that were like, it's best to just keep people at arm's length, and you don't let yourself get too involved, you just stay safe, basically. Well, that was my worldview. But what I realized over time was that was not serving me at all, because I was keeping myself, out of harm's way from maybe the bad actors in the world that wanted to do something bad, but also I was keeping myself sheltered and isolated from the people who were genuinely just wanting to love me and be there for me. I was like, nope, everybody's bad. You guys are all out there. So that's just an example of how my worldview affected then my nervous system, because I was constantly looking for reasons not to trust people, or like, oh yeah, see, that person's a jerk or whatever. That was what my brain was doing. So I had to, as I did my whole healing journey, of course, I had to unpack all of this stuff. But so we talked about the identity. So who do you believe yourself to be? So I talk about this a lot because I know I used to perceive myself as a person who couldn't stick with a program, or that I was unable to make a dramatic change and stick with it. So, and that was based on kind of faulty information too, because there were times that I actually did stick to things, but then there were times that I didn't, and then those times that I didn't, I sort of used that as the proof to back up the identity that I assumed, which was I can't stick to it, I can't, stay faithful to any sort of, goal for a long period of time. So again, I had to prove myself wrong on that to change my identity. I, little by little, began looking at the ways that I was doing a change, and I was sticking with it. Even if I didn't do it perfectly, I didn't dwell on the parts that I, when I dropped the ball or I fell off the wagon, I looked at the parts when I was staying steadfast and staying on my program. So then my new identity became, I am capable of being very thoughtful and conscious of how I'm proceeding through my day. I would not, there was a time when I was really sick. It was kind of a blessing in the fact that I wasn't out and about in the world very much. And so I didn't have to make those choices like at a restaurant very often, or at other people's houses eating dinner or something like that when I was trying to make my dietary changes. I was able to stay kind of steadfast because I was home and I was not tempted, so to speak, because I was so sick and so desperate to heal myself. So I was willing to just forego any temptation, any favorite food that would come up, and I was like, nope, not doing that, because my new identity became, I am healing myself with these protocols, and that is going to be what happens. And that's just what my brain started working on. So you have your beliefs about things. So again, we have to talk about the belief. Why was I able to stay on that program so strongly? Because I had such a deep-seated belief that it was going to work. I knew that, first of all, when I read medical medium books, it resonated with me because I had mono as a 12-year-old kid for the first time, and then I had recurring bouts of it throughout my other teenage years, and it affected me so greatly when I actually had mono the first time, and it had lasting impressions and lasting side effects from that. Like I had my insomnia kind of became an entity at that moment. My brain fog, my just fatigue in general. So I would have different points in my life where that stuff would ebb and flow, but when I would get run down, those other things would start creeping up for me. So when I read medical medium books, he talks about Epstein-Barr virus being at the culprit behind a lot of these neurological things that we all experience. It clicked for me. I was like, yes, that seems right, because I know when I started experiencing some of these things. So anyway, so that also helped me, with my belief. Another thing that I did a lot of praying to the angels. I did a lot of meditations, and that's another thing too, because meditation is a beautiful thing that can help you rewire your brain, because you're expanding parts of your brain and your brain waves in such a way that are new, perhaps that are not like the patterns that you are normally falling into. So you're able to change your brain waves in such a way that then it expands the possibility for you to think a different way, to obviously be a little bit more relaxed and in that parasympathetic nervous system where the healing happens. And so that, again, is another gateway. If we can just get in the habit of doing a daily meditation, maybe even a couple of short ones, whenever you start feeling agitated or you're feeling like creeping up with your anxiety, or you're realizing that you're not able to mind your thoughts as well. Because, you know, this brings me to the next subject, which are triggers. Because every day when we're going through life, we have things that are going to trigger us to want to go back to the old way of thinking and the old way of being. So we have to be aware that they're going to happen. Okay, we're not living in fear of them, but we know they're going to happen, and you can't live in a bubble. So when they do happen, we have to have some tools in our tool belt to like compensate for those triggers, so that we don't slip back into that panic, that negative thought pattern, all of it. So when a trigger happens, before you ride the roller coaster ride all the way down to the bottom and are in despair once again, I think it's super important to say, wait, nope, I feel it coming on. I'm stopping what I'm doing now, and I'm going to change my state. So it can be something as simple as going into a different room, walking into a different room. One of my favorite go-to ones is just stepping outside for a minute, because just suddenly nothing seems as bad. Nothing seems as serious when you're outside looking at the sky and you're looking at the trees and the birds, and everything feels better all of a sudden. And so nature therapy is one of my huge ones that I love to lean on whenever I'm trying to get into that rewiring mode where I'm keeping myself calm. And so you can do just silly things, and I want to encourage you to be silly. I want you guys to rediscover your inner child, that side of you that was just playful and silly and joyful for no reason. That's what we need to return to. We need to become that person again, like we were when we were kids and we were carefree, and you know, we didn't judge everything. It was just, we were in the moment. We were able to be present in the moment, and our nervous systems were just like, you know, calm, cool, and collected, and we were just in a joyful state for no reason. So that is where I'm headed. You know, that's like on my daily practice. You know, I set an intention every morning. How am I going to be in the world today? How am I going to show up? What is my go-to, my new default? It's not anxiety and fear. What is it? It's courage, it's joy, it's love. I try to strive every day to be open-hearted and just face everything with an open heart and not be closed off the way I was when I had that bad worldview, right? So it's important to just, you know, keep an eye on our brain, what's going on, the thoughts that are going on, and then keep our emotional state at a calm state, so we can begin analyzing, where is this coming from? Where is this thought coming from? Is it true? So when you have a triggering thought, you need to just kind of analyze it, especially after you've done your little pattern interrupt. You're stepping outside, you're shaking your booty, you're putting on a funny video, you're doing some jumping jacks, you're doing some physical, sometimes just getting the physical energy moving in your body helps you to move that negative energy right out, which is super helpful. So you have to examine the thought that got triggered and just say to yourself, okay, is this even true? Is this always true? So, you know, depending on what it is that triggered you, let's just say, okay, what would be a good example? Okay, you paid a bill and it was late, and you realize you got a late fee on your bill, and you're like, oh my God, it's horrible. I can never pay my bills on time. I have this stupid late fee. I am just the world's worst, and everyone else is more responsible than I am, or blah, blah, blah. Okay. So instead of that, let's just like time out. It's not, first of all, let's like analyze this from on a scale of 1 to 10 of catastrophic things. Is getting a late fee on your bill life-ending and life-changing the way your adrenals are probably signaling to you right now? No, it's not. It's like a $25 inconvenience. Yes, it hurts, and especially if you're paycheck to paycheck, it really hurts. But again, you're human. And then, so then you can just calm down and just say, okay, this is like really no nothing, and I think we've all paid a bill late at some point in our lives. It doesn't make us horrible people. And then you can start thinking about the ways maybe you can creatively, you know, call the company and say, hey, would you waive it this one time? Or, you know, just kind of set up a bill pay or something so that it gets automatically paid next time so you don't run into that same problem again. So your brain can start problem solving in a calm manner of how to, you know, problem solve it and figure it out better next time. And not make it a big thing. It's not a thing. It's not like a new stamp on your identity. I'm a late paying bill person or whatever, you know, like I'm irresponsible. We don't have to think of it that way. It's just a one-off. It's a one-time mistake. You're human. We can just laugh about it and handle it and move on and just chalk it up to, I tried, but you know, I let that one fall through the cracks. And guess what? We all do that sometimes. It happens. So that's okay. And once you kind of have that new perspective about it, then hopefully the rest of your day isn't all about just beating yourself up, because that's what probably used to happen for me, I know, and I think happens for most people. When one thing that starts happening badly, again, that reticular activating system is then looking for all the ways you screwed things up, or that you're not doing as well as you should be in all the areas. So again, we want that to not be the case. We don't want that to be happening. So we're gonna, mind that, do the pattern interrupt, and then, on your time that you're having quiet time with yourself, I highly recommend doing some journaling if you have a mind to do that. Because honestly, this is a good way to kind of work out some of those identities, those beliefs. You could even systematically kind of go through your whole life and start writing down some of the identities and the beliefs that you have in a certain area. For instance, I used that example earlier about my ability to stay on a program. So hence my ability to heal myself naturally, when I was thinking along those lines, probably wasn't high. And then my thought process gets to be defeated pretty quickly throughout my day as I'm looking for, okay, I need to do this, and this to hit my protocols. Probably not going to be super motivated to do that if I'm thinking, I'm probably not sticking with this anyway, so why am I even bothering? And then you're just like, you're down this spiral. So we catch the thought, we elevate it, and then, so when you're doing some journaling, you can pick any area of your life. If you're, I speak a lot about the area of health and elevating our physical health, because that was such an alarm bell for me in my life, and it was such a game-changing moment when I lost it completely, that I feel passionately about that. And I know that is so, it impedes your quality of life to such a great degree that I often talk about that a lot first, because what is it that saying that says a man who has a good health has a million wishes. A man who has poor health has just one. So honestly, health is wealth, and when we don't have our health, we really don't have anything. I know these are a lot of stereotypical statements, but I'm speaking from experience. It's so true. You can't really even enjoy anything when your health is bad. So it's important to just keep a track on, what are your beliefs around your ability to heal? How can, if you're like, this new agey stuff is BS, I need to go to the doctor, only doctors can tell me, the definitive way to heal and stuff like that. Those type of thoughts probably came from somewhere if you have that kind of mentality. So where did that come from? Was that just how your mom and dad thought of doctors as like, oh, we always have to go to the doctor to get any medicine to get better whenever we're sick? So we inherit those thoughts, and then of course our society has made us feel like we're not empowered. Back in the day, before the industrial revolution, doctors and medical people were very holistic in their approach to medicine and how they would help their patients. And with when the Rockefellers came into power and started taking over all the medical schools, and they became in cahoots with the pharmaceutical industry, then it became a medical school teaching doctors how to basically prescribe medicines and that sort of thing, and really discourage them from looking at herbs and old remedies that were used in cultures for years and years. So that's how we kind of got away from all of that back in the day. Anyway, so it's important to just kind of examine your beliefs around your healing and examine what are your rules then. So we have our identity. So let's say if you were like me and you're like, oh, I just can't stick with a program, I don't think I can do it. Okay, so how can we elevate that identity? So we can elevate that identity to, I am someone who is embracing a new way of being. I'm willing to expand my way of being, because the identity that got us into this situation to begin with is probably not going to be the one that's going to get us out. So our habits and our behaviors that got us sick to begin with are not going to be the same behaviors that help us dig ourselves back out of the situation. So we need to just be mindful, am I willing to change? So yes, I wholeheartedly am willing to just make some changes, and I am willing to try. I think that an elevated version of the old mantra of I can never stick to a program to I am experimenting and trying to become a different type of person in all areas of my life. I think that that's a more elevated thing, and that kind of leaves some wiggle room for if by chance you slip up, because we're gonna stumble on this new healing journey. It's not just super like, okay, in 1 minute, I'm clicking from a person who never ate any fruits and vegetables to a person that's all I eat now. That's a big stretch. And that similar thing when you're dealing with your thoughts and your beliefs and your identities. We can't go from I'm really skeptical, this is never working, whatever, to yay, everything's peachy keen and I just know this is going to work. Our brain will call BS on that like in a moment's notice. So we have to do little incremental steps of rewiring our brain to a more elevated level that our brain can believe, because we don't want to be some like Pollyanna saying, oh, everything's peachy keen. That's not realistic. But also the fact that you can never change, that's not realistic either. We need to see things as they are, not worse as they are. I think it's okay to see a little better than they are. That's okay. But the seeing it worse than it is just going to drag down your energy and drag down your, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if you think it's not working or it's no way, Jose, then it's not. And that's the thing about it that we have to just bear in mind as we navigate through this whole situation. So we're going to have to tweak all of the things. We have to tweak our identities and who we perceive ourselves to be. We have to tweak our beliefs about what we believe about the world and what we think about our abilities and about other people, about the power of the fruits and the vegetables and the nervous system regulation. We have to think about what are our rules then. So as we have all these new protocols to put into place, what are our rules about, interacting with other people, going to dinners where there are going to be foods there that probably aren't good for us? We need to put in some rules and adjust the old rules. So, one of the rules that I used to have back in the day before I started medical medium, but when I first started trying to do some tweaking with my diet, I would have a cheat day once a week that was was a free-for-all. I could do whatever I wanted or eat whatever I wanted on that one day, because I had the belief at the time that having 6 good days and then 1 bad day, I still was going to ultimately get on further my progress to whatever I was trying to do. So now my belief about that sort of thing is not the same, because I know that a lot of those foods, those bad foods, kind of stay in your body it can be like, most of them stay in about 3 months, but then like things like canola oils can stay 6 months in your body. So it can cause an impediment to your healing for a period of time that is kind of significant. It's not just one and done, like, oh, I had a bad day today and no big deal, I'll just get back on it tomorrow. Yes, that is true, that you should get back on it tomorrow if you do fall off, but also if we can avoid falling off, probably the better thing. So anyway, that is how we start to do the tweaking and elevating our thoughts into a better thing. And then we're looking for, again, we're telling our reticular activating system to be looking for the proof that it's working. We're looking for the proof that, oh, I felt better. I felt my stomach hurt less, or my heartburn was kind of going away, or I noticed I was calmer and I was able to kind of manage my emotions a little bit better, this past couple days. And so I deserve a lot of credit for that, because those are progress. And that's what we're looking for, progress over perfection. If we make a 1% change each day, by the time a year goes by, think of how much of a change you could have accomplished by just doing 1% every day. I think that's when we get into a kind of a dangerous, slippery slope. Sometimes we get too ambitious in the beginning and want to make such a giant leap, and we get frustrated when we can't sustain it, or it doesn't show the instant gratification of results that we're looking for. I think it can play a negative head game on us if we're too ambitious. I think just setting the bar low enough of 1% better each day, 1%. And you know what? Some days you're going to do way better than 1%. Some days you're going to make a leap and you're going to be like, yes, I did 50% better today, or whatever. But it's good, because the fact is that you weren't pressuring yourself to do it, and you didn't feel like trapped or into this negative kind of connotation of feeling too much pressure to have to do it. So I feel like the 1% rule is freeing in a way, because it's like, yeah, how hard is that? I can do 1% better. Like, of course. And so that just inspires us for an easy win. And that's what we also need to start celebrating the wins and celebrating the good in our lives, the good that's happening, the good that we are managing to keep track of up here, because that is the name of the game. As we start noticing all the good, then our nervous systems automatically calm down, and we're in a higher energy state, or our immune system's functioning better, where all of it's moving so much faster because we're in this kind of elevated, escalated time frame. So these are all things that we can do to just keep us on track. And whatever your spiritual practice is, if you have a connection, you like to meditate or pray, or if you go to church, or just even nature therapy, it's hard to not see the beauty and the wonder of this universe by just observing outside and observing how perfect the systems are of nature. I mean, that is amazing. So anyway, I'm going to open it up to questions if you guys have any. Also, do me a favor and say replay or live, depending on when you watch this. I like to get some more interaction going on the thread of the comments for this, because then hopefully Facebook will get the idea that they need to show this to more people, because the more interaction you have on your posts, the more they want to show it around. So we want this information to get out to as many people as possible. And so if you could just let me know if you're live or replay, and then let me know if there's any questions at the end. Let me see here. I'm scrolling through. I don't see any questions at the moment, but if you guys feel like posting some questions in the comments too, I will circle back after the live and answer them in the group too. So anyway, I'm so glad you guys decided to join, and hopefully you got some good stuff out of this, because these tools are invaluable. I honestly think that these are the foundation for all the rest of it, because once we lay the foundation of this, then making tweaks to our diet or to our, meditation practice or whatever is so much easier, because we have such a strong belief in our healing, and that in turn gives us an optimism, gives us hope, gives us a connection to the divine that we all are seeking. So anyway, I love you guys so much, and I will be in the group, and I will see you guys hopefully very soon. Feel free to, hit me up if you get stuck, and I'm always here for you. Okay. All right. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.